Hello, boys and girls, ladies and gents. This is DafubFilm&TV, and I am finally here with my belated review of episode 1 of season 2 of Loki. The real world has gotten in the way and may well do so for the not insignificant amount of time into the future. So, the next couple of months. So, my review schedule might get a bit disrupted. Hopefully, it won't, but it will happen from time to time. I've just watched the episode for the first time. Again, I have been busy, and the obvious point of comparison is, well, again, the last MCU show I watched, which was of course Secret Invasion, and the last Disneyplus show I watched, which was Ahsoka. The production quality and value here is really, really good. They're using obviously many of the same sets, and they're doing effective things, sets and or location shooting in a particular building somewhere. I think it's a hotel or something. I can't remember off the top of my head. That's me as usual, forgetting my factoids. The sets, if they are using them, again, look very, very good. I assume they're using the volume in places as well, and particularly big environments, which would be very expensive to build sets for. But it, like the way they're shooting it, it doesn't look. It looks good. It looks real. It's a bit hard to tell what is and isn't, what is actual real physical set, and what is the volume. Cinematography, direction, lighting. As from what I remember, the first season at least as good, if not better. The key differentiator, again, this is the first episode, but there's much more going on. It's much more fast paced than either the absolutely torturously glacial, quite frankly, Secret Invasion, and the frankly slow Ahsoka. There's more dialogue in this one episode than there probably are in 2 or 3 episodes of Ahsoka, and it's only about 45 minutes long. The cast is very, very good. And they've brought back again everyone from the previous series, as far as I can tell, is here and accounted for so far. Well, there's 1 or 2 actors / characters we haven't seen yet who might turn up in the season, who we know that aren't dead. Who might turn up? Her name Renslayer comes to mind. She'll probably turn up later on in the season run. But it's in one episode, it's kind of night and day, really, compared to both Secret Invasion, which was I think it was 6-episode show, which went nowhere, where things happened at such a I mean, it was by the end an absolute slog to get through it. The episodes were unnecessarily short, which hurt things as well. You have one episode after another where nothing happened, and again, Secret Invasion, due to the kind of the creative restrictions, plus also probably the writing, just couldn't pull off the thriller thing effectively, nor did it have the action spectacle you might otherwise expect of an MCU show. And so it failed on both fronts, and cost $200 million to make, apparently. With the case of again of Ahsoka, things weren't as bad as that, but you're still dealing with a show that is again, Ahsoka was very slow paced. You had very little happening in terms of actual core story beats or the main plot beats running through each individual episode. And many of the episodes were, again, unnecessarily short, inappropriately short, one could argue, for live action, if you're looking at it from outside the context of, say, a 30-minute sitcom. So when you compare those two shows to Gen V, which I've also reviewed the first 3 episodes of, and I will review episode 4 the first chance I get, this is immediately compares more favorably to those in terms of the production quality, and just in terms of the quality and the quantity of the writing and the dialogue. Now, it's a bit hard to tell whether the cast from Ahsoka is any good or not, because they just don't have very much to work with. With the exception of the actor Ray something or other who plays Baylan Skoll, who does a great job with the very limited dialogue he's got. but even so, it's again, I wasn't dwelling too much on Ahsoka, but it's compared to this. It's one episode in, and it's already better than what we got out of than what I got out of the first two episodes of Ahsoka, which were released I think at the same time when the show started. And I don't know how many episodes there are in this season. Is it 6 to 8, something like that? My guess that's what it is. And if this is any indication, then Loki is likely to be season two is likely to be kind of at least on par or close to season one. Now, season one came out quite a while ago, and I do remember it somewhat fondly. I mean, the thing to remember about me, again, disclaimer, is that I've never been necessarily a huge comic book fan. I do have comics, more principally graphic novels. I've got a few Batman ones. I actually ended up with 2 copies of The Killing Joke, which I've yet to read. I apologize. I believe it's one of the classics. But I have a number of, again, graphic novels. I'd be much more familiar with Batman and Batman's lore than I would be with anything in Marvel, realistically. And, rest of the DC stuff, again, I'd have some familiarity, but not a huge amount. I'd be much more familiar with Star Wars than I would be with the comic book DC comics or Marvel comics. But as someone who, again, there were complaints about Loki from season one from the kind of the comic fan base about him being a bit of a wimp compared to how he is in the comics, or even how he is in certainly his earlier appearances in the MCU movies. And I think that to a degree, from what I remember of season one, it may have some validity to it. More than some, might have quite a bit of validity to it. But again, I haven't, again, when it comes to the comic books, I am an absolute, I know I've never read a Loki comic. I may have read an Avengers comic at some point, but never for any kind of significant period of time or with any degree of kind of religiosity. So it's a bit hard for me to. I'm coming at this as the standpoint of a unwashed, filthy noob, who doesn't know or doesn't have any expectations as to what I'm supposed to be getting out of this or what I'm supposed to be seeing on screen or how Loki is supposed to act and behave. And so taking that into account, if I was a fan, maybe I'm not happy with this first episode. There's some, kind of, from what I've seen online, people aren't necessarily particularly happy with it either. Or at least some of them aren't. There are some people who might like it, some people who don't. But again, the proof will be in the pudding. We'll have to see how it rolls out over the next couple of weeks. And apparently, Ahsoka's ratings basically fell off a cliff after the first week or two of it being on air, and hopefully this doesn't happen with the show. Hopefully, it maintains or improves its quality over the original, and hopefully it does well. Again, it may, there may be detractors out there who already dislike it, but I can see how they could if the same people who really disliked Ahsoka, and I can understand that too. If you didn't watch the animated shows, there's, you didn't have any vested interest in the characters, Ahsoka would have been even more of a damp squib than it was. And, again, if you're a fan of the character, hate how Loki is portrayed in season one, I can understand you're not liking this off the bat, but from my, unwashed masses / Philistine perspective, it's seems like a good start to me. It's made a better impression than the first 2 episodes of Ahsoka did. It's made a significant, again, Secret Invasion was just so bad. Just so bad. So maybe, this is a Disney looking in turning direction and improving the quality of what they've made. Apparently they fired the director and the writers from the new Daredevil show. They'd apparently 30% of it done. And he who knows all, aka Feige, apparently stepped in, fired the director, fired the writers. So I assume that show will be delayed and or rewritten, which might be a good idea, to put it mildly. There's apparently a significant kind of human capital deficit at Marvel and or at Disney Plus and at Disney as a whole in terms of how do you write television, let alone serialized television. So how, maybe they're going to get people in. Apparently, they haven't been hiring showrunners to oversee the production of shows and oversee the writing, and that's probably also a serious mistake as well. And if they fix these mistakes, they might be able to turn the corner. But so far, as I've said before, if Ahsoka is the direction they're going in for the foreseeable future, and God forbid, Secret Invasion, they're not going to be able to compete with HBO. They're not going to be able to compete with Amazon. They're not going to be able to compete with any of the big players. I mean, Amazon has hired, like, again, Gen V and The Boys and Invincible are all being made by an outside production company who clearly knows how to do television, and clearly, certainly big budget live action television. Disney clearly doesn't know how to do it. And the quality of what we've been seeing has been, it's been up and down, but it's been overall steadily falling since the first couple of shows, including Loki and the Winter Soldier / Eagle dude. I can't remember, flying guy. I can't remember his name. I forget. Again, this is how much of a unwashed normie non-comic book person I am. Apparently that show, season 1 of Loki, and I believe also WandaVision have been so far the peak in terms of ratings, and everything else has been either stagnant or in decline ever since. And so Disney really does need to turn things around. My guess is that, particularly with the strikes in the US and Hollywood, it'll probably be a couple of years before things get, or a year or two. In other words, if they start making those organizational and creative changes now, we're probably looking at a year, maybe more, before we start to see serious changes and hopeful improvement in fixing the core problems, which is above all else with the Disney Plus shows, the writing. And hopefully that will happen. Hopefully it'll if it happens sooner than that, great. But I think it could be, if it means changes that'll only affect shows that are going into production now, again, it'll be a year, potentially more, before we start seeing a significant improvement overall. Could be earlier. We'll have to wait and see. But so far, this one episode gives a better impression than the first 2 episodes did of Ahsoka. And if it can maintain this, even improve things, it'll certainly be better than Ahsoka, certainly be better than Secret Invasion, and hopefully maybe we'll start seeing more better content later this year and next year, but I would not be surprised if it's not till 2025 before we see a serious overall turnaround. In terms of, it might be one show that's good, another show that's mediocre or worse, and it may be till 2025 before we start seeing a genuine shift in the right direction for Disney, in terms of or Disney Plus, in terms of the quality of the original content. But whether Disney Plus will survive that long, or even Disney as an independent entity will survive that long, who the hell knows? Anyway, this is my my thoughts / review, if you can call it that, on episode 1 of season 2 of Loki. Please please let me know your comments, your thoughts in the comments below. Again, the more engagement, the more the algorithm will like me. And if you, for some strange reason, you haven't already subscribed to the channel, please do so. And ring the bell for instantaneous notifications of when I upload new content. This is DafubFilm&TV signing off. Toodaloo.